Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Ruth. We're in Ruth chapter 4. Yesterday we saw that Boaz made the arrangements at the city gate to redeem Ruth and take her as his wife. Now today we're going to pick up the reading at verse 7 as the legal transaction is completed and the redemption is announced officially to the city. So let's read from verses 7 on. Now, in earlier times in Israel, for the redemption and transfer of property to become final, one party took off his sandal and gave it to the other. This was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel. So the kinsman redeemer said to Boaz, "Buy it yourself." And he removed his sandal. And Boaz announced to the elders and to all the people, "Today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Machlon. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabite, Machlon's widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among his family or from his hometown. Today you are witnesses." So this completes the transaction, the redemption of Ruth. She has now become Boaz's wife. Now, you may be interested in how this was finalized. It said the other man who had the right of redemption but had declined to exercise that right, he takes off his sandal. He takes off his shoe, and that completes the transaction. Now, again, this is something unusual for us. We wonder, why is this action completed legally with the taking off of your shoes? Well, that is part of the law of Israel. It goes back to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 25, verses 7 through 9. And in this, the law is given for Levirate marriage, the redemption of a widow. And it says, Deuteronomy 25, verses 7 through 9. Now, if a man does not want to marry his brother's wife, that is, redeem her, she shall go to the elders at the town gate, and she shall say, "My husband's brother refuses to carry on his brother's name in Israel. He will not fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to me." Then the elders of the town shall summon him, and they shall say to him, "Do you persist in this?" And if he persists in saying, "I do not want to marry her," then the brother's widow shall go up to him in the presence of the elders. She shall take off one of his sandals. She shall spit in his face and say, "This is what is done to the man who will not build up his brother's family line. The man's line shall be known in Israel as the family of the unsandaled." A very unusual custom for us, but this was the way it was done in ancient Israel, for one who would not honor the right of redemption. And so this man who would not do it has to take off his sandal, and with that it is complete. Boaz becomes the redeemer, and he redeems Ruth, and of course the land that belonged to Ruth. As I said, it's kind of an unusual custom to us, but it emphasizes the point that the book of Ruth is all about redemption. And we notice that Boaz is willing to do whatever is necessary in order to redeem Ruth and to bring her into his home as his wife. Again, this is a prophetic word that when our Lord Jesus comes, he came as our Redeemer, willing to do whatever it took to redeem us as his own. And the church is called the bride of Christ. So the redeemed church is brought to Christ as his bride. We recognize that symbol in the New Testament. And it goes back to this story of Ruth and how Boaz was willing to redeem Ruth that she might be his wife. Of course, when Jesus redeems us, he is willing to shed his own blood to do it. He died on the cross that we might belong to him. That is the price of our redemption, and that is how much our Lord loves us and was willing to redeem us. What a glorious thing it is to be the redeemed of the Lord. Join us tomorrow as we begin to wrap up our study in the book of Ruth. So we have a few more things we want to say, and we'll look at that in our next 5-minute Bible study in the book